Chris, if I'm South Carolina, if I'm Dow Loggins, I think you have to come out and throw the football early.
Yes.
Like, I think this is one of those games where you have to be almost counterintuitive to what you think on paper you would need to do. And I'd throw the ball 10 times in a row to start the game. I really would. Like, I would just come out shorter, easier passes if you can find them. Throw on first down, throw on second down. Break your tendencies. I know we're one game in. We're already talking about tendencies. But you know if you're going to win this game, you're going to have to establish the run. But the best way you're going to be able to do that in this game is to establish that you can throw the football. So or if I'm running the ball, I'm not calling an inside zone in the first 2 drives of the game. Like, call everything but what I actually want to do. Take a page out of their playbook. Let's get some guys on the edge. Let's get, if Jared Brown really is healthy, it appears he is. Let's get him going in the jet sweep, harboring the jet sweep. Get guys to the outside, get guys to the edge. I would almost throw the kitchen sink at them the first couple of drives in terms of just showing them a bunch of different looks, knowing ultimately I want to get them backed off so that I can come back to getting Rocket the ball. But I think just getting Rocket the ball early on is probably not a great recipe.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Loggins talked about it at his presser. We talked about it after the game. Carolina's going to have more downfield passing success. Because I would go even a step further with what you're saying, Wes. Yes, you want to get Lenora Sellers some easy access throws, but Kentucky going into this game is saying, they play zone a lot, but they play physical, tight zone. They're probably saying, make this quarterback throw the ball down the field, stack the box. Don't let him run. Don't let Rocket Sanders run. If they throw some passes, throw some balls over our head, so be it. Because, frankly, South Carolina didn't throw a ball over Old Dominion's head. I mean, even the one you mentioned to Jacobs is kind of a little bit more of like a corner route, and he keeps going. He made a guy miss, almost took it to the house. But they're not out there just throwing darts all over the place in game 1. So they're seeing everything we're seeing, and Kentucky's coaching staff knows a lot more about football. So they're going to key in on those things as well. I do agree with you in that you probably are going to have to come out and try to establish the passing game, the threat of a passing game early. It seems very difficult. It seems like a very difficult path to think that you can just line up and run the football up and down the field on Kentucky. If it works out that way, then this team has taken a huge leap. That would be an outstanding omen for the rest of the season. I think they're going to need to do some of both and to have at least a semblance of balance in this game. So that's obviously a big question mark, right, as to whether or not they can do that.
Yeah, I think when Carolina's on the script, so to speak, they need to have some success on this thing early on. Because I think that would just, and I don't even care what that looks like. I don't know. Like, the coaches know way more about what areas of this thing can you exploit, where should you attack, all those things. But whatever it is, I think you need to kind of be aggressive early on, get the ball around to a bunch of different guys, and then come back to and it'll be interesting to see, can they throw the ball down the field? Like, I know a lot of what Kentucky's going to do. I feel like Lenore's is going to have to make some of those intermediate throws, because when they're dropping into that zone, if they're sitting back, cover 3, cover 4, stuff like that, it's going to be, we're not going to let you throw it over the top. So can Lenore's hit those seam throws, those sort of throws where guys have to just settle in beneath, like in between those zones? It takes some precision, honestly, from your route runners and from your quarterback, and knowing where those holes are going to be. I think that's what makes Kentucky's defense difficult, is because they're not playing exotic coverages, but they just major in it a lot of times. So they know like this is what we do if you're Kentucky, and they're recruited for this. Like they have the length to kind of shut down those windows very, very quickly, and they're not scared to hit you. So I also think the fact that Nick thought their linebackers are maybe a strength over their defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get those guys running sideline to sideline. Like you got to, that's why I also think, maybe we're not throwing the ball 10 times in a row if I'm calling this thing, but we're putting some stuff out there early on to where when they go over there to that iPad after the first 2 drives, they're saying they just gave us 8 different looks in the first 10 plays of the game,
Yeah. Yeah. South Carolina's going to have to show some things and do some things that they did not in the first game. I mean, which is a reason if you're kind of going into this game a little bit more pessimistic, I understand, because you're saying, hey, you got to be able to throw the football. South Carolina didn't do that very well in game 1 against a lesser opponent. And you got to be able to protect the passer. Again, same thing. Kentucky's going to throw some stuff at you. They got a good D-line. They have linebackers that are really good against the run, but also very active, very physical, rushing the passer as well. And in the perimeter game, they're big, long, they can run. You do want to get their linebackers and their defensive linemen running side to side and get them tired out and stay on the field. But in order to do that, as an offensive coordinator, you're not going to feel good. Let's throw the ball sideways. Let's throw perimeter throws. Let's run to the perimeter if you're not blocking well. So that's another area where you got to take a big, big jump from week 1 to week 2 blocking on the perimeter. It's interesting because this team needs to probably use the word major. South Carolina needs to major in Rocket Sanders running the football. But until they establish more balance, it's going to be hard to do that, to get back to that base of running Rocket and that being the main part of your offense. Because right now, from what we saw in game 1, the feel is that this is a one-dimensional team. So can you break that mold and show more balance, the ability to do both in this game?